Israel objects to U.S. announcement of leaders who will help oversee next steps in Gaza. Okay, so this is kind of interesting what's going on here. Some people are confused with this. Some like it. Let me read it to you. Israel's government is objecting to the White House announcement of leaders who will play a role in overseeing the next steps in Gaza as the ceasefire moves into its challenging second phase. The rare criticism from Israel of its close ally in Washington said Gaza Executive Committee was not coordinated with Israel and is contrary to its policy without details. Saturday's statement also said Prime Minister Netanyahu has told the foreign minister to contact Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The committee announced by White House on Friday included no Israeli officials, but as an Israeli businessman, billionaire Yakir Gabay. Other members announced so far include two of U.S. President Trump's good friends, a former British Prime Minister, U.S. General, and a representative of several Middle Eastern governments. The White House said the executive committee will carry out the vision of Trump-led the Board of Peace, whose members have not yet been named. The executive committee's members include Rubio, Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, ex-Prime Minister Tony Blair, Apollo Global Management CEO Mark Rowan, World Bank President Ajay Banga, Trump's Deputy National Security Director Advisor Robert Gabriel. Ilan, strange story here. What do you think about this?
Number one, if you wanted proof that Israel and Zionists don't control the United States, they're definitely not getting what they want. So from the start of this, I've always thought, what's the solution in Gaza? And I've always believed that after this ends, you know, Israel gave back Gaza in 2005. The goal was not to take it back again. I think that fundamentally there has to be a proxy government set up. I interviewed a Palestinian politician a while back, about a year ago, and he said something very interesting. He said the war can be summed up, and the entire conflict can be summed up in two words, one word for each side. On the Israeli side, it's security. On the Palestinian side, it's autonomy. In other words, they do have to have an opportunity to achieve autonomy, but it has to secure Israel. It has to make Israel feel like they are safe, because this is a perpetual cycle. It's not going to come to an end. Do I have problems with, like, Turkey being on the board? Yes. But do I believe that there has to be an opportunity for the Palestinians to have some form of self-determination where Israel isn't involved while maintaining security for Israel, the most fundamental part of it all? Both sides get what they want. Long term, there has to be an outcome where we're not in this continued perpetual cycle of violence and war. It's just not helping stabilize the region at all. So this is a functional approach. Israel, to me, shouldn't be involved in that end of things. And I honestly, I don't have that big a problem with it.
Adam.
Yeah, I'd love to see Gaza have elections. When's the last time Gaza had elections? They voted in Hamas in 2005. Let me know how that turned out. By the way, Hamas ended up just killing the Palestinian Authority, and then they fled to the West Bank. And then you have, what's his name, Mahmoud Abbas, who's on his 20-something year after supposedly only be there a 4-year election. So please, have elections. For that matter, what other countries in the Middle East have elections that aren't sham elections? So yeah, have elections. By the way, whether you like Netanyahu or not is irrelevant. No Democratic leader in the history of the current world right now has been elected more times than him. I'll say that again. Nobody's won more elections than Bibi. You may like him, you may not like him, but what matters is the people of Israel like him. So imagine if Donald Trump had the ability to run for more elections and he just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. At what point would we say, yeah, who cares what the left say? This guy's a winner. So I'll double down on this. Would you rather be feared and respected or liked and everyone thinks you're a nice guy? In my opinion, Israel's sick and tired of trying to appease people and be liked. They just kicked everyone's butt in the Middle East, and they're basically saying, who's next? And in my opinion, nobody wants that smoke. And America and Israel, when they're aligned, the world is a lot better and safer place.
So, but what do you think about the fact that they're not having Israel participate in the rebuilding of Gaza? How do you process that?
I don't even think that's accurate. I think Israel is going to tell everyone, here's what we're doing, guys, and let's come to an agreement. So right now, who's running Gaza? Israel. So there's no chance that Israel isn't going to sign off on what's happening on their border. So And by the way, do you think there's a lot of daylight between Trump and Netanyahu at this point? In my opinion, you have Trump, you have Netanyahu, you kind of have the Crown Prince of Saudi. Who else is bigger players in the world stage on a certain team than those three guys? Sure, you have China and Xi Jinping and Putin on that side, but between Trump, the Crown Prince, and Bibi, they're calling the shots now. Nobody else. So I think that they're going to have a conversation and they'll work it out. But Israel not being involved in who's running Gaza, I just don't see.
Tom.
I see your point, but on the list, I was looking for the Israeli representative. And I've kind of felt like the White House has probably thought this over. Rubio's fingerprints are all over this. He's sort of the operating chairman.
Tom, could you count Kushner as an Israel representative?
Not
to an extent,
no,
yeah.
not
Not
really.
fully.
I don't think so.
I think you almost got to have like the Rubio of Israel, some statesman that's representing there, but not Bibi himself, to be on here to be part of this, number one. And then number two, the issue you've got is what do you do with all those Palestinians? Do you rebuild Gaza, and now it's Gaza rebuilt, but how do you extract the rotten raisins from the muffin, which is Hamas? How do you do that? And then say, okay, we're going to rebuild this thing, and you guys can all live there, and then these bad guys are going to build tunnels again, and then we'll see in 20 years and we'll flatten it if we don't like it. So how do you get there? So, but point one, I think you need an Israeli on this list of people, on the formal list, not the informal, Adam, who's running Gaza right now, but on the formal list, if you're going to build this board of peace and the billions of dollars you're going to put on there, you got to have somebody on there. Now, a week ago, I thought it was very interesting that Somalia, of all places, a place with a lot of land and a lot of space, suddenly recognizes some folks. So I was kind of wondering, Pat, is this going to be, hey, I've got an idea. These people just recognize you. How about all you Palestinians move to Somalia? It's a mess, but I think the first step is this board of peace needs to include an Israeli.
You know where they should move? Whatever Arab, Middle Eastern country is willing to say, we'll take them.
Well, that's none.
But zero
It's always been
countries
none.
have stepped up.
Well, wait a minute. The peace
Why have
board.
no countries, after the Holocaust, how many people from all different countries came to Israel?
Yeah.
So if you actually care about the Palestinians, my Middle Eastern friends, have them come to your house.
But
look
Adam,
what
you
he
know the
does.
answer to that.
Or bring them to Toronto, bring them to London,
Hang on.
bring them to Paris,
wait, why
bring them to
should- why-
Brussels, and let me know how that
Why
works
do they
out.
have to go anywhere else? If it's Palestine and they're Palestinians, they should be able to stay there.
Well, number one.
Why does anybody else have to take? If you came in here and we fought and everything, why should somebody else take the
Because
responsibility?
that's not how the world works, and that's how history works.
Here's how it works.
When you fight a war and you lose over and over and over
It's still
again,
your- yeah, but still
you no
your-
longer have that land. By the way, what country are we in now? Are we in the United States of the Native Americans or the United States of America? You fight a war, you lose, you no longer have that country.
So wait, so is Israel saying every single Palestinian should be gone? Because he
No.
makes a great point. How are you guys? Okay, I'll answer it in pieces. So on this board, there's nobody that's representing Israel, but there's people on here that have Israel's interests in
Yes.
hand. Witkoff, Rubio, Kushner, Blair. Let's put that to the side. Tom made a great point. How are you? Because I'm going to agree with you that if you're going to take over, you got to get rid of everybody. Yes, we still have the Native Americans here, but they're not violent. They're not doing anything crazy. But if you're going to go into Palestine right now and build this beautiful, and you're going to let some Palestinians come back, how are you going to trust that one of these nice people that's like, yeah, I'm Palestinian, that you killed their father, their mother, their brother, and their sister aren't going to just bide their time and at some point do something bad?
I'm going to answer
That's
that
very
for you.
dangerous.
So in Israel, 20% of the population is Arab. Because of the national identity that exists there and the equal rights that actually do exist there, as much as people want to say it's apartheid, it's not. They have a strong sense of, I'm not going to say there's not problems, there are terrorist attacks, but they have shown that coexistence is possible. When you, to Adam's point, why haven't the Arab states accepted the Palestinians? I know Egyptians, I know Lebanese people. We have seen what happens when the Palestinians enter other countries. They destabilize countries. The Palestinians that live in Gaza, it was an experiment, a failed experiment to show that when Palestinians are on their own and they vote for their own politicians and they try and have their own autonomy, that it fails. That's why I'm not advocating for Palestinians to try and do it on their own. I'm advocating for countries to step in and actually take control of the region. And it will require re-education, integration. But long term, there has to be a solution to this because we keep talking in circles about it. But the notion, again, I'm going to agree with Adam here, the entire world is built up on colonialism, on conquering land, taking it. The entire Middle East is built up on that. So the notion that Palestinians can continue to attack, not accept and the entire Israel conflict has become, now when you talk to anyone, when it first started in 2023, let's say when this became very popular, you talk to people, they said, I accept Israel's right to exist. I just want to see Palestinians safe. I don't want to see this war continue. Nowadays, almost everyone I talk to is, I don't believe Israel should have a right to exist. That's not going to solve anything long-term, just like it's not going to solve anything long-term to say, let's get rid of every Palestinian. I don't like that rhetoric either. It's not a realistic solution. This is probably the most realistic long-term solution to sustainable peace, re-education, and there is a pathway to it because we know that Palestinians in Israel will coexist and even fight for the Israeli army in certain cases. So,
Yeah. Well said. I fully agree.
Yeah, no, good. I'm
Go
just saying.
ahead. By the way, if there was an election in Gaza today, who wins the election?
Hamas, most likely.
They elect the terrorists. Do you understand that? If there was an election today and KKK wins, we'll go, whoa, whoa.
See-
All right, hey guys, no. We're going to fight a war. All right, KKK started the war. We kicked their butt. Guys, 2028 election. Who you got? Oh, David Duke, you're voting for the KKK? That's unfortunately the Palestinians. They'll keep doubling down on terrorism and they, F around and find out. They continue to perpetually find out, unfortunately.
Well, who's in charge right now in Palestine from their side?
Nobody, Hamas.
I'm gonna say one more thing. Every time Israel has conceded land, it has backfired. Every time they had showed strength, it has worked in their favor. And that's just a sad reality of the Middle East.
That's true.
You look at Iraq, you look at all these countries, when they show strength, it stabilizes. When they show weakness, and Israel has offered the land back 7 times. They offered pre-67 borders back in 2000. The answer wasn't only a no, it was a second intifada to go kill Israeli citizens. And in response, and this is the perpetual cycle, there's always an event that's ignored, and then people look at the sad tragedy that happens afterward. You look back in the day where they were bombing school buses. Everyone talks about apartheid. They're setting up, checkpoints. They're setting up this. This is unethical. You can't enter the country. You can't leave the country. Why do those things exist? Because they were going into Israel from the West Bank and literally bombing clubs where teenagers are. They were bombing buses with vests on, with nails on them. So yes, there is a response to that. But the world, unfortunately, and this is the saddest tragedy of all, holds the Palestinian to such a low standard that there is zero accountability on them. Zero accountability to seek peace. Zero accountability to not commit acts of terrorism. And the end result is the perpetuated suffering of Palestinians because they become pawns in this, as opposed to holding them to a higher standard, saying you can be better than this. You want peace, achieve it if you really do want peace. Elect a government that's not a war-hungry terrorist government and speak out against it. It's almost impossible now with Hamas there, but that's the only pathway forward on their end. And on Israel's end, they do have to create a pathway for autonomy and self-determination for the Palestinian people. And enough with, I hate the rhetoric, let's just get rid of all the Palestinians. That's psychotic. It's not going to happen. It doesn't help anyone.
I agree. By the way, let me flip it on you. Let's say, bro, I don't care about Israel. I don't care about the Jews. I don't care about the Muslims. Dude, good luck out there. I'm just a red-blooded American Christian. Ask yourself, who do you want controlling, really calling the shots in Israel and the Middle East? Do you want Hamas or do you want Israel? If I'm a Christian and I want to go visit the land of Jesus, the answer is very simple. It's the Israeli government and the IDF that will protect you and take you to all the places that Jesus lived.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Hey, Hamas, I want to go check out your area. Walk me through everything that's going on here.
When we set out to
Go ahead.
create a
Yeah,
shoe
you
that
probably
blends
won't make it
comfort,
back.
function, and luxury, we had the choice to make it fast. We had the choice to make it cheap. We chose neither. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship, each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing the Future Looks Bright collection. Not rushed, not disposable, not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.